A thread by Carlos Osuida. The New York Times gives us more comedy gold about Donald Trump. The Nostradamus of presidential elections tells us that Biden will win. From the New York Times opinion, he predicted Trump's win in 2016. Now he's ready to call 2020. Here are the reasons Trump will lose. 1, the GOP lost the House in 2018. 2, the short-term economy is bad. 3, long-term economic growth is worse than the past 2 terms. 4, there's terrible social unrest. 5, Trump was impeached and he has lots of other scandals. 6, Trump has had no foreign policy successes. 7, Trump is totally uncharismatic. Now, Lichtman is a self-admitted Democrat, so he's finally allowed himself to be swept along by the crowd. His keys are utterly worthless in this case, and he's also totally dishonest. Let's go through this drivel. 1, the GOP lost the House in 2018. Trump did not campaign for House members. I didn't see it at the time, but I do now. He deliberately lost the House to get rid of the Paul Ryan wing of the party and ensure that deranged progressives would take over. The loss of the House led directly to the implosion of the Democrat Party. 2, the short-term economy is bad because of Democrat governors. Nobody blames Trump. 3, long-term economic growth is worse than in the past 2 terms because of the pandemic. Nobody sane blames Trump, and leftists are doing everything in their power to re-elect him. Guess what California will do next? Make all white corporate boards in California illegal. Reverse Jim Crow laws. From calmatters.org. Mandate diversity. California bill would ban all white corporate boards. 4, there's terrible social unrest because of Democrats. You think the American voter is going to elect the party causing the mayhem? 5, Trump was impeached and he has lots of other scandals. It's all fake. It's all political harassment. Every sane American can see it. Trump has 0 real scandals. 6, Trump has had no foreign policy successes. Well, except for making NATO stronger, standing up to China, making South and Central America reduce illegal immigration, ditch every single agreement that is made to our detriment, confronted Russia everywhere it went, strengthened our economic and military relationships with Pacific nations, eliminated regime change as an option, ended our role as a global armed forces, freed the Middle East from the Islamic State, mediated a lasting peace in Sudan, created new alliances with India and Pakistan. Trump is totally uncharismatic. This is beyond laughable. It's just a flat-out lie. Only a committed Democrat could make this claim. Trump's eerie ability to cloud the minds of his enemies strikes again. Now, I am a Trump cheerleader, but I'm honest. I back my assertions. For example, about 62% of Americans are afraid to share their political views, from cato.org. In this era of Trump supporters being considered inhuman monsters, do you think those people are afraid to admit that they oppose Trump? Of course not. They support Trump. That means Trump will get about 62% of the vote. Game over. Even Tim Pool will vote for Trump, screaming all the way that he doesn't like Trump's bad character. It's because the alternative is unthinkable. The Democrats have singled out an entire race for social extermination. Nobody sane wants that. The most brilliant thing Trump did was to create a reverse honeymoon for himself. Every president before him was obsessed with his approval rating. There's a horrible tape of the swinish Lyndon Johnson lamenting that all he wants is a little love. This guy called people to his bathroom to talk to them as he sat on the john. He actually stood up at cabinet meetings, unzipped his pants, took out his you-know-what, and slapped it on the table as he bellowed. Democrat, progressive. Presidents do anything to keep their approval ratings up. They pander and compromise. Trump did what he could to remain underwater, which was a two-pronged strategy. One, it convinced the Democrats to lose their marbles with overconfidence. And two, as the Democrats got crazier and more destructive, Trump's approval rating rose without him having to do anything except be himself. There's absolutely no way the Democrats can turn this around by election day. In fact, they're going more and more and more leftist. Did you see this? From Seattle, protesters say they were met with guns at Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best's home. The Seattle Police Chief's neighbors came out, barricaded the street, and prevented the peaceful protesters from going forward. In Seattle, the Democrats have lost the war. The presidential Nostradamus has stripped all of his keys out of their context. As a result, he's dead wrong. Trump will win as the entire country repudiates the insanity and destructiveness of the Democrats. Someone leaked the full George Floyd body camera video. Leftists are outraged at being fooled. Floyd was saying he couldn't breathe the whole time, and he demanded to be put on the ground. You can expect a hell of a lot more sabotage of the Democrats the closer we get to the election. War is the remedy our enemies have chosen. Other simple remedies were within their choice. You know it, and they know it. But they wanted war. And I say, let us give them all they want. Not a word of argument, not a sign of let up, no cave in, till we are whipped or they are. William Tecumseh Sherman. This is not the Second Civil War. Nothing like this has ever happened before. The Confederacy was rational. It went to war over facts. Confederates have nothing whatsoever to do with today's Democrats. Today's Democrats are fascist totalitarians. They have far more in common with the Nazis and the Taliban, and even the Soviets. Again, the Soviets were rational. It was all about power and expansionism. Nazism is a stew of irrationality and self-defeat. They violated their own principles on every level. Because of ideological rigidity, there was no way for the Nazis to be victorious. The best armed forces of World War II were, in no particular order, the British, the Americans, the Canadians, and the Australians. Through sheer genius, all overcame the limitations of their equipment. All adapted. All used their experiences to develop new weapons that were the best of the era. The Nazis prided themselves on their engineering, but they wasted time on ideas of jaw-dropping stupidity. Aircraft that were too tall to be serviced, tanks that were too heavy for all bridges in existence, machine guns with such a high rate of fire that they required 15 men to carry ammunition. As every single national resource went into fighting the enemy, the Nazis refused to stop exterminating people. Trains and troops that could have fought were tied up, keeping the death camps full. Madness on every level. And if you even questioned Hitler, he got hysterical. Today's leftists absolutely refuse to even explain themselves. It's not possible to even have a discussion. This is not functional. You will not win elections by simply ordering people to vote for you. You will not win elections by threatening people. You will not win elections by insulting people. You will not win elections by sending out brown shirts to destroy your businesses. You will not win elections by turning all entertainment into Nazi-level propaganda. All the signs point to a massive Trump win. The sports franchises have crashed and burned because of the endless propaganda. The pandemic doom crying is now antagonizing all sane voters. Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. Sorry, this isn't the Dark Ages. The Democrats are running a campaign for a country that doesn't exist. They are absolutely disoriented. In the past, there were agents provocateurs who pretended to be their opponents. Today's leftists destroy everything in their own names. Hi, I represent the Democrats. I'm here to smash your face. They aren't even thinking. Their brains have rooted down to their reptilian complexes. Komodo dragons, crocodiles. There's a reason that Komodo dragons don't get pilot's licenses. They don't know what airplanes are. If you somehow manage to communicate with a Komodo dragon and explain airplanes to it, here's what the dragon would say. Can I eat it? Can I mate with it? And when you said no, it would just waddle away. I have only one question about Trump. How did he become aware of his power to rob all his opponents of reason? Because you bet he knows. I'd love to find out how he realized it. Write a book, Mr. President.